worked with these lights though? Yes, you have. Okay, so general rule of thumb, these lights get very hot. So, yes, exactly. Yeah, just start stripping. So once they're on, like literally within a couple minutes, they will start to get hot to the point of where if you touch them, you will burn yourself. So just be very careful when these are on. So
gloves recommended.
yes. Okay, so I'm sorry, like that PowerPoint I went through was very quick, but does anyone have any questions so far?
No. I'm confused about astronaut.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go over that. That's a confusing topic, and it can even take photographers like semesters to learn about stuff. So, okay, so basically, when you first start setting up, obviously you're going to use, a suite. It's ideal to use a background. We have, 3 here. There's a black one, a gray one, and then a white one. So you want to use one that's going to definitely complement your piece and make your piece pop. So if your piece is all color like this wine bottle, you're going to want to use, white. Your piece is all white for, whatever reason, then you're going to probably want to use a different color just to really help bring it out. So basically, you set it up, put it in the center, as close to the center as you can, turn on your lights and start kind of, just seeing what the light is. As I said before, ideally you want to make sure you're shooting on a tripod because then, depending on what your camera settings are, you can end up shooting at a very slow shutter speed, which then is going to result in your camera, or you're possibly moving, and then your picture is going to be blurry. So it's just good idea, good practice to have it on a tripod. There are 2 tripods that they have in here. There's one over there, there's this one. They're always in here, so you don't have to worry about checking them out. Cameras you do have to check out from, I think, John. So, yeah. So, okay, so basically, what I do, and let me actually bring that up here so you guys can see. There we go. So, you guys are probably going to have to get closer to see this because there's really no way for me to project this part. But this kind of is, your menu. It shows, what mode you're shooting in, which is, similar to the other one. Showing up, so I apologize. This is your shutter speed. This is your f-stop. So, because I'm shooting in, and then also the other big thing that you want to pay attention to, which is kind of hard to see, but it's like these lines in here. There's a little plus. There's a little minus. This is your light meter that's in the camera. So, you want to obviously try and get it as close to the center point as possible.
So will it change if the channel
It'll change. It'll also change if I start, changing the shutter speed. Like, as the shutter speed gets slower, it's getting to more positive side. So that means it's going to be a brighter exposure versus going this way. Same thing with your f-stop. You change your f-stop, it's going to change it. So you want to shoot ideally for the center. So in this case, I still want to be 6. So my shutter speed is going to be 100. So you want to try and make it that middle ground because that's going to give you the clearest picture possible. So you kind of just center it up. You also want, when you're thinking about the lighting, you want to think about, you want harsh light. So like for example, really harsh light is going to give you this. I'm going to turn off that light. So see, this is harsh light. This has nothing on it. You do have barn doors here that you can kind of close to give you more of like a serious look, but most people aren't going to do that for product photography. So this is harsh light, so I'm going to show you what this looks like. Let me take a picture. And this, you don't have to worry about this part. This it's shooting feathers so that you guys can see the image. And this is in Lightroom, which if you guys all have Creative Cloud, you'll have Lightroom. So this, you can see what harsh light looks like. If you add a light, turn that one off. Okay. So you still have this harsh lighting coming in, but now you're adding a diffuse light. Diffuse light, actually I'll show you what diffuse light looks like. So for diffuse light, sorry, there's going to be a lot back and forth, but so this was your harsh light. You see you have this very big shadow here. and this is with only one light. Same thing with this. You only have one light that's diffusing, so you can see it immediately gets rid of your harsh shadow, but it also creates a shadow over here. So, to combat that, if you still want the harsh light, now we can turn this one back on. And remember, if you're shooting in manual, you're going to have to constantly be checking this meter. And as you see, because I added another light now, it's going to be way overexposed. So I need to change, in this case, the shutter to a faster shutter speed. And then now you can see we still have that shadow back, but it's still not as harsh as that light. The shadow still, the detail in the shadow is gone. Ideally for product photography, you want to kind of eliminate as many shadows as possible, so that's why in a lot of product, that's why in a lot of product photography, you're not going to see just one light setup, and you're not going to see a lot of harsh shadows, just because with that shadow, it's causing, as you can see, it's causing you to view the shadow as well and not really pay attention to your product. So you want to be able to have something like this where your product is front and center and there's not much distraction going on. So because we have two lights now that are both diffused, you're going to have a look like, sorry, tethering does slow things down a little bit. You're going to have and I did one cardinal rule where I just change the settings. There we go. So here you go. You see, you still have a little bit of shadow here, but this is nothing that can't be fixed. But it's still, it's less of an issue than something like that. Am I going too fast so far? Do you guys have questions? Okay. If you guys have questions, just shoot them out. I will seriously just keep talking. So to kind of help get rid of some of these shadows, this is where you can start moving your lights around. You can get closer and this is where you have to be really careful. You can start moving your light down. So as you can see, like if you look at the shadow in the wine bottle, you can see like even how moving the light down affects the lighting. And also move it over some more and lower it. Another thing you also want to be thinking about when you're doing a composition is how does the actual composition look? Right now it's just I'm shooting straight on, but if you want to do something like this where you kind of angle it so it looks more, artsy and not just like, artsy. There you go. So, and then we can come over here and, if you want, you can move this one up. So, with lighting, especially, it's one thing like if you have a handheld light meter, which I don't believe the graphic design department has. So a lot of this is kind of going to be trial by error and kind of just playing around with the lights and seeing how they look. I don't think there's like any time limit. You check out the camera that you have it first. You don't have to have it back. I think as long as John's here, like you can turn it in. I don't think it's an issue.
Is there a difference between the light meter and the light sensor?
The light meters in your cameras are very accurate, but a handheld light meter is going to be more accurate.
And do all
because
like
the camera,
do all DSLRs have a light
yes,
meter?
because basically what the light meter in the camera does is it averages all the light coming in. So that's why it's very important if you are here, you turn off all the other lights because that will affect what's going on. Whereas a handheld light meter, you just hold it in front of the light, or if you hold it down here, you get what the temperature, or not temperature, get what the reading is, so you know what to set your camera on, so that you're getting more of a direct light, or a direct reading. So as you can see, because I moved the lights around, this is the first one where you had the shadows, and then the second one kind of got rid of them. Still, they're there, so this is where you can start kind of playing around with those household objects that I told you. I did did bring up your.
I have it.
So, yeah, so basically, like I have, this is from my days when I was in photography school, I just have a piece of like mat board with tinfoil taped on it because it's a heck of a lot cheaper than going to a camera store and buying like a zip disc or something, because those are, depending on the size, can be anywhere from like 20 to 50 bucks. This literally cost me like, what, $5? So things like this with a reflective surface, because unfortunately we don't have reflector umbrellas, things like this can be very helpful in adding light, which actually I'm going to demonstrate the harsh light, and that will be more obvious. So as you can see, when you add the tinfoil, that adds more light to your subject. But then you also have to keep in mind, because you're adding more light, this is going to affect this. Not too much, but you want to highlight the area with the reflector. Here's without, here's with. And you can see over here. And I moved my camera, I had the thing in the way, but you can see like it definitely brightened all this up in here. So you can see that, but again, then you guys start watching, you do have a shadow there. So again, this is where also, because we don't have reflector umbrellas, if you do have people helping you, it's a good idea to kind of get them to hold things for you so you can see where your shadows are, see where, you know, where things are happening, so that way you can focus solely on photographing, and then maybe your buddy can help, like, change the lighting and stuff. There is also other options like diffusing the light with one of these, which is going to be even, I mean, this is very thick, but even this is diffusing the light somewhat, so it's not as strong. It actually is diffusing it more than this. So actually, you want to shut off that light for a second. So yeah, even if you did like that, this is really diffusing the light. So basically, when you're in here, it's kind of just, as I said, trial by error, playing around with what we have. Some of the other things I was going to show you guys, and then I'm going to, for those who want to learn, I'm going to do a very in-depth thing about f-stops. But this is a piece of glass. Again, this is also a very cheap option. You can get a piece of glass at Home Depot. You can also, as long as your parents don't mind, steal the glass out of a picture frame, as long as you probably promise to return it. You just have to be very careful, obviously, so you don't cut yourself, but also if you start like pawing it up, you're going to have fingerprints in your glass. But adding glass to a product, such as this, granted, this is like a piece that I was using for a very small, in-depth, not wine bottle, because the thing is the back tape is going to show up, but see the effect is not. Make sure it's down. Ignoring this part, but you can kind of see the nice reflective surface it adds to the bottle. These are all kind of things just to help enhance your piece. But, and again, as I said, this was something I was using for smaller stuff, so I was like really zoomed in on it. So this is not ideal for a wine bottle, but again, this is all kind of just little extra things you can add. You can also add construction paper, which I unfortunately don't have any, but colored construction paper if you're looking for like a light color, like, because in photography they'll use gels to add as a background. So if you wanted to add like a color to your background, I would suggest like sticking the light back here so it's strictly right there. unfortunately, yes, because we don't have gels, you have to get kind of creative. But and again, this is where it's very helpful to have a partner when you're in here. But if you wanted, you could do, this is probably going to be a very bad example, but this is all God. If you want to add like a black, maybe not black, but say like purple for some strange reason, you want to add a purple background, you could hold like a thin piece of construction paper or tissue paper, and then that way you do get a color on your back. So, but I would suggest doing it with the actual light, not a diffused light, because you add it to the diffused light, as you can see, it really doesn't do much. So I would definitely suggest adding it to the darker light like this, because as you can see, it does affect the background.
When putting the gel on there, are you facing that towards just the background so it doesn't affect the
Yeah.
actual product, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to take a picture of this right now, you would see you would see, I moved the wine bottle up so the light isn't on it, but you see where this light is just hitting the back of it.
Yeah.
So then that way you can add a color to the background if you wanted to do that. Another thing, this isn't really shooting related, but all you guys do have Lightroom, right? Okay. So one cool thing about in Lightroom, I'm not sure, as you can see, like these pictures, for example, let me pull up this one. This one's looking very warm or yellow. So easy way to go in and fix it, and just so you kind of see what's going on, is you hit W, which is for white balance, click on the back because that's your white and it automatically whitens it. So that's a lot quicker of a way to correct and kind of see what's going on than in Photoshop and doing white balance and all that stuff. So this is just quick and easy so you can kind of see what it's going to look like when you do get it into Photoshop and you're editing it and stuff like that. So trying to think if there's anything else major.
We learned in studio class that when you have a glass object like that and it's very reflective, you have to be careful of the hot spots on the glass and maybe your own reflection in the image. So
Yes,
we
that's a
always
good point.
wear dark clothes so you don't show up in the reflection.
And that's where, yeah, like a shadow box would be awesome for this because it's
Yeah.
easier to blend in. But with an umbrella, unfortunately, like the hot spot she's talking about is obviously where the light is shining on the glass. So you can see it right here, and you actually see the lines of the umbrella. Because again, this is all that we have. My best suggestion to you would be is try and eliminate that spot as much as possible, but there's only so much you can do, because it's still gonna be there as long as you're lighting the object, it's gonna be there. But go in and Photoshop and kind of soften it up so it's not as obvious. But yeah, definitely like make sure, like look at your reflection and make sure it's not in the glass. Make sure, you can't see your camera in the glass because that's even harder to get rid of than this. The light is not, it's not great to have in the bottle, but because of this setup, there's really not much way you can go around it. So I would just say kind of fix it in Photoshop a little bit, but that's a good thing. Any questions so far? Sorry, I covered a lot of information. It's kind of hard, but okay. So f-stops. This is going to be the very in-depth conversation. As I said before, f-stops are kind of like your eye. The smaller the number, which is right here, the more wide open the iris is in the camera lens. So the best way to think of it is that if you're using your light meter, in your camera, which I strongly suggest, and this is kind of why I said, make sure that you're not, you're either shooting in manual or aperture priority, because let me know what, here, I'll stick, yeah, this is, I was gonna do a demo with this, because this was a piece that's falling apart, but, so the thing with f-stops is you have two things you're photographing in there. And I'm gonna focus on the Y bob, because that's the first thing, or the thing that's closest to my camera. Now, if I open up the f-stop, so that's wide open. This is what's good. Now, I had to correct with the shutter speed, because since I opened it up, I had to make the shutter speed faster, because it means there's more light coming into the camera, so I need to be quicker to take the picture, because I don't want it, because if I left it, what was it at? So like 125 or what was it, 200. So if I leave it at 200, it's going to overexpose it to that.
Right.
Right. So you have to correct for that, so that's where you make a faster shutter speed. But, so it's still at f2.8. Now I shot focus on the wine ball. So as you can see, everything, wine ball is in focus perfectly, and everything behind it is out of focus. So that's why f-stop is extremely important if you're shooting multiple things. So say you have like, you know, you're doing a piece that has like 2 or 3 things that you have to photograph, and you have to arrange them. The shallower the depth of field, this is what's going to happen. So that's why I strongly suggest shooting it at least 5/6. So in this situation, as you can see now, Big Ben is in focus. Because now it's, the depth of field is getting more, it's not as shallow. So basically, as long as you shoot 5/6 or higher, then you're fine. Just remember though, the higher the f-stop, the lower the shutter speed is going to have to be. So like if I did f18 for some strange reason, if I wanted to, I'd have to be at like a really slow shutter speed. Otherwise, if you shoot in aperture priority, which I'll set this to, there we go. This is where you're just responsible for doing the f-stop. See, as I change it, it's changing the shutter speed for me, and it's kind of basing it off of, again, that middle point on the light meter. So as you can see, I set the f-stop to 5/6, and it said, oh, you need to be shooting at 200, which is basically what I was doing.
So when a camera says like it has an f-stop of 1.8, what does that mean? Is that what it can go up to, or is that how open it can
That's
get?
how open it can get. So 1.8 is about, 1.8, 1.5 is about as open as it can get, but then just remember, it's going to look like this if you're shooting 2 things. Even if you are, for example, just shooting one subject, get closer to it, so I'll just, so even if you're only shooting one subject, the other thing you have to be careful about with shooting with shallow depth of field or a small f-stop number. So when I say small, I mean like, you know, smaller numbers, so like 2.8. Okay, so even with one object, you can see, even in this case, like this is perfectly in focus, but it's starting to go out of focus as you get further away, and that's the same subject. So that's why, yeah, definitely in studio work.
So if you had gotten closer and done a 5.56.
Yeah, well here, I'll so change it to,
You're still in aperture.
yeah, I'm in aperture priority, right, so change it to f6. the whole label is in focus. So even your depth of field affects one object as well.
So what objects need like a 1.8 other than like a project? Or graphic design, we're gonna have 3D images or
Usually like shallow depth of fields are for kind of like, I pretty much only use it for like athletic type thing where I'm trying to just focus on like one person or like one runner or one soccer player or something, and then I want everything else behind it to be out of focus. So it's best if you're like trying to get that effect of where your one thing is in focus and then everything behind it is out of focus. But in studio work, it's not really something you want to do.
Oh, I do have one thing.
Yes.
My old teacher, Jeff Curto, wrote a basics in photography book. So if you have an iPad or Mac OS, it's free, and it's like a basics on photography. So if you want to read up on it, it's a really good book for just like looking at stuff and learning.
Yeah, I mean, there's, that or going online, reading about basic photography, but I really strongly advise you guys to either to definitely use the school's camera if you don't have your own digital SLR. Do not use these. I know I am just as guilty of saying, I think on the first day when I was introduced and you wanted to be part of the photography club, that it's okay if you use your cell phone. It's okay if you're using your cell phones just for like candid shots for, you know, archiving purposes, that we need a shot for, you know, something, I need a picture of the group or whatever. But for your portfolio, that is not a good idea. It will show, your teachers are going to know that you used your camera phone. Your teachers will know if you used a point and shoot. Just because, again, as I showed the example between a raw image and a JPEG image, your teachers are going to know the difference. They are going to be able to tell. And this is going to be eventually in your portfolio. So, and if you're submitting stuff to Brainflower and it looks like the photograph looks bad, it's not going to get in. So, and you could have like an amazing piece that you created, but if the photo looks bad, it won't get into Brainflower. Same thing with your portfolio. If you have an amazing piece, but the photograph of it looks terrible, and you have it at portfolio night, you're going to get passed up because it's going to look terrible, and professionals are going to see it. Let me show you how to do it on here. Basically, so I'm not familiar with the Canon camera, but basically to make sure that the camera is set in RAW, there's usually, does anybody have a Canon Rebel?
I don't remember how to do the raw, but it's pretty easy. Like it's in the menu.
I want to say that there's like because on Nikon cameras there's a quality button that you can hold down and you can adjust the raw JPEG tip. I'm sure it's probably the same.
I remember just going.
I feel like in the Canon it's on the menu screen that you change it. So
like image size or something.
yeah, something like that. So all right, I think everyone.